Hey there, you me and DC fans, and welcome if you're new. I am the stepson of Krypton, coming to you today with Aquaman number 13, another one in the DCKO tie-in. Guys, the whole KO series is really kind of starting to ramp up here. We got a bit to cover in this one, so I don't want to waste any more time on the intro. Let's just go ahead and get on into it. All right, guys. So, if you remember where we left off with the last issue, Mera went back to her old home of Zebel. And now we're going to kind of flash back even further. We're going to go back to young Mera in her home, having found the one piece of land there that isn't riddled with wrecked ships. Her favorite spot, but also allows her some other perks. She gets to see when the wrecked ships come in, which means she gets to get there first. Now, if you remember, the Atlanteans are the ones who placed her people there. And of course, there's a barrier. The only thing that can get through were these derelict ships, but it also included the dead that came along with them, which kind of means, Mera is used to seeing dead bodies from a young age because they would obviously be, kind of still floating there within the wreckage. And as long as she was the one to get there first, she would get there before any of the other sea creatures got there. So she was kind of used to liberating some items that were no longer needed as we see the pendant she's going for. Just as she snaps back into the current time, we see Nearest. He's coming at her. He's full of rage, blaming her for killing their people. And Mira, of course, is thinking he must be mad. And she wants to know what's happening and she wants to know where the rest of their people are. And it would seem that the mysterious woman looked almost just like her. But Nearest kind of starts coming to his senses, realizing that it couldn't be her. And while Mira needs to get back to Arthur, she needs to find out what happened to her home. Although I think we're all thinking the same thing. We then switch over to the KO event with Arthur. And if you remember from KO number 3, I know it's going to say in the next page that, his story continues in KO 3. KO 3, actually, the release order was before this one. The contestants got to team up with anyone from the tournament, even if they were already out of the tournament. So, of course, Arthur picks Hawkman. But if you go back, he's the one that killed Hawkman. So, maybe this kind of balances the scales. But something seems to be happening to Arthur. He's losing the connection to the blue and his godlike powers. And it's time to give him hell as we see Lex and Supergirl getting ready to take on Aquaman and Hawkman. And if you thought we were going to get more of the KO battles, well, you're wrong. Sorry to disappoint. We then go back to the oceans where Aquaman's daughter is fighting off a horde of parademons. And she keeps saying, "For Aquaman, in the name of her father, for your king." A little weird. Something sus here. Although, unlike her father, though, she is much more brutal, taking pleasure in every kill of the parademons. But they all know that without Arthur and his powers, they aren't going to make a dent in this fight without some serious help. And they don't have the Justice League to call. So it might be time to gather the kingdom. So we switch back to Baby Mara, and she's excited. Her father has promised her something. Today is that day. She is excited for the promise to be kept. And as she approaches, her father is discussing with another individual about this new massive ship that has made its way into their domain. And I kind of like how they're talking about, searching the ship, obviously, but then breaking it down to make homes for their people. Seeing, like their population's increasing, but their borders aren't, right? They just got to stay within the dome. And then, of course, Mara being a kid, she's like, "Oh, you promised," and he's like, "I don't have time." And they kind of go back and forth. And Mara actually wins out. Her father will keep his promise, and he keeps saying, "Someday you will be queen." We go back to the present. Nearest tells Mara about when this person first appeared and how it almost looked exactly like her, seeming to help the people of Zebel against the Atlanteans. And of course, as we knew it's Andy or Adrina Curry, her daughter. She goes by Andy, and I'm for the rest of this, I'm gonna say Andy just because Adrina, I just too good a chance of me messing that name up once. We get to see exactly what this Andy imposter was doing, or at least at this point. We're going to assume an imposter as she kind of turns many of the people of Zebel into Atlanteans to fight for her, giving them the little pearls there. Just as Nearest is feeling sorry for his failure, we see a fish person attack him, and it looks like one. If you look on the previous pages, there it looks like one that was already working for Andy. Luckily, though, Mira is there to save the day as she grabs a nice rusty old wrench and stabs the thing. So Mira grabs Nearest, who is injured, and they're swimming away, but she's quickly being pursued. There's only one thing she can do, and that is to go into this old aircraft carrier that was lost down there that is surprisingly still standing. However, probably not for too much longer. Maybe Mara can use this to her advantage. And yes, her plan works. She's able to trap Andy's forces within the hull of the carrier as it sinks, crushing everything inside. We then move over to the Hall of Kingdoms, where Andy has called all of them together to discuss what is happening, and she says she can help save them with this power she possesses. And of course, you got to kind of wonder, did she somehow get the power of the blue, which is why Aquaman was saying he could not feel the connection to it anymore? Or is she some kind of dark side plant here to get the other kingdoms in line so she can take over the oceans for dark side? Could be either or at this point. But sadly, Lobster Guy isn't picking up what she's putting down, so Andy kills him. And now even her fellow companions, other people are starting to question who she really is. She is an abomination. Or is she something more? We go back to Zebel, and Mera and Nearest are approaching an area filled with kelp, the kelp forest, as it were. And it's the same area that young Mera and her father were wanting to go to, or at least where they were heading to go to. So, what is so special about this area? And speaking of young Mera, we're back with her for a page as they make their way through the forest of kelp. Young Mera sees a statue of her mother and gives her the jewel that she got off of the ship earlier. The jewel pendant, whatever you want to call it. But this time, as an adult, when she returns to the spot, the statue is gone. However, we will have to wait until the next issue to find out what happens as we have the Billion Queen, something like that. We'll go with that. And that's where this issue ends. All right, guys. So, not not a whole lot going on that's tied into the KO event. I mean, some of the tie-ins I think are better than others. This one, you're kind of just waiting for the other shoe to drop to figure out what's going on with his daughter, whether that is actually his daughter, because if you have been following in the Aquaman series, now we are not covering that series. This is just happens to be a tie-in, but if you have been reading that one, and let me know down in the comments if you want me to start covering it, I can do that. But in there was a whole kind of a time dilation thing when Arthur got back to Atlantis. It looks destroyed. Turns out that's kind of a fake out. So this is some kind of clever ruse going on that we'll have to kind of just get further and further on into the Aquaman series to figure out what exactly is happening. But for now, we won't get into it. If you've made it with me this far, consider giving the video a like, subscribing to the channel, and having the bell notifications clicked, as you will get alerted as we're releasing all of what's going on in the KO event, as well as what is happening in the Absolute universe. Mantis was nice enough to put everything in playlist for me, so you have them all right there. You can just watch one right after another. And guys, because we try to keep these comic book ones as short as is humanly possible, because we know you're here for the comic book, that is going to do it for me on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, I'll see you then.